それで、兄さんたちはいたの？お父様に聞いたの？
聞きそびれましたが、書斎の中にはいませんでした。お父様が夫たちの下船な話のために入室を許すこともありえませんから、行き先を知ることもないでしょう。下に降りて使用人たちが探してくれるのを待ちましょう。朝食は遅れますが、お茶でもいかがです？エヴァさん。
別に結構よ。
Ah, she getting her just desserts. Take that, you biatch. Eva couldn't hide her confusion at the complete difference in Natsuhi's attitude. I love right now. Look at that smile. Perfect. She was acting so boldly, and while Eva hated to admit it, she even had a sense of dignity about her. Unable to find fault with anything, Eva could only follow Natsuhi back to the parlor. Now, Natsuhi, you see, if you acted like that all the damn time, you would be able to completely get past Ava's little taunting harassment. When the two of them returned to the parlor, Hideyoshi had been joined by the 4 children and Nanjo. Genji, who had been talking with Hideyoshi, reported the current situation when he noticed that Natsuhi had returned.
主人たちはまだ見つからないのですか？
はい、申し訳ございません。あと、熊沢が朝食の準備に入りました。もう少し時間をいただきたいとのことです。
The clock read a little past 8 o'clock. 8 o'clock should have been the time to start breakfast. Normally, going over the time limit would be a disgrace to the host.
今、カノンが表を探しています。それから、シャノンの姿も見えません。
シャノンまで？まったく、主人は何を従えて散歩に出かけたのですか？
Just how many people had gone missing by now? Now that the number was this large, it was starting to feel truly unpleasant, as though the people here were the only ones being left out of something interesting. At least that seemed to reflect the feelings of the children and Maria in particular. She was indignant, her stomach grumbling almost as though her mother and the others had left her alone to go off and eat something delicious without her. The other children were flipping through the channels on the television, trying to find a program that might interest Maria and cheer her up again. Nanjo was sitting on the sofa, gazing blissfully at the children while reading a book. It must have been a book about chess. A sound of footsteps came rushing towards them with a pitter-patter. There was only one set, so they realized before seeing who it belonged to that it was probably Kanon, not Cross, and the rest.
奥様、失礼します。
その様子では見つけられなかったようですね。
申し訳ございません。まだ。
もう十分です。ご苦労をかけました。
She didn't know where they were, but they had to be somewhere on this island. They hadn't had a thing to eat since the previous night, so their stomachs must be out now. They'd probably come plodding back of their own accord before long. By now, Natsuhi was thoroughly exasperated and started to feel that there was no reason for them to go out of their way to search.
私はお客様方にお茶のご用意をしに厨房へ行きます。二人とも早朝ご苦労様でした。
Natsuhi left the parlor acting as though the release and tension had caused a surge in her headache. Kanon tried to call her back, but Natsuhi left swiftly. I mean, leave the girl be, shit.
どうした？まだ何かあるのか？
はい。旦那様方のお姿を見つけることはできませんでしたが、その。
Kanon sounded evasive. It looked as though he didn't know where they were, but had spotted something that might be connected to their disappearance. Eva and Hideyoshi noticed this exchange of words and came over. They'd probably picked up on something strange in Kanon's behavior.
どうしたんや、カノン君。クラウス兄さんたちは見つかったんか？
実はバラ庭園の倉庫の様子がおかしいのです。
Looks strange.
様子がおかしいというのはどういう意味だ？
それが何と説明すればいいのか。
Kanon hesitated once more. His tone wasn't at all what you'd expect from this usually fearless boy. Saying this, Eva and Hideyoshi looked at each other dubiously.
どういうこと？倉庫の中に兄さんたちがいたんじゃないの？
いえ、中は調べます。その鍵を取りに戻ったところなのですが、
ようわからんが、とにかく中を調べればいいだけの話じゃないか。その倉庫の鍵はどこにあるんや？
使用人室にあります。すぐに中を確かめましょう。
Kanon dashed off to the service room and returned with the key. Genji left the parlor saying that he would go check, but then Eva and Hideyoshi followed after him. And what was this something strange about the storehouse that had caused the usually fearless Kanon to hesitate? It was still pouring outside, but perhaps their curiosity over this something that Kanon couldn't talk about won out. While the children made a big fuss watching television, Kanon and the rest dashed over to the entrance. The Rose Garden storehouse was a place that housed various tools used to manage the garden. It was definitely not a pretty building. Because of its appearance, it had been built so that it was hidden in a corner of the Rose Garden. Kanon, Genji, Eva, and Hideyoshi came cutting across the Rose Garden holding umbrellas. They entered a small path just off the Rose Garden, which was normally off limits for those appearing appreciating the garden and only used by those maintaining it. As they dashed down that, the storehouse came into view in front of them. It was quite an old shed, and compared to the flawlessly perfect beauty of the Rose Garden, it was pretty seedy looking. It was easy to understand why it had been built in a hard-to-see place. Eva and Hideyoshi arrived at the storehouse long after Kanon and Genji.
カノン君たちは早いな。わしは心臓が爆発しそうや。
こんなところに倉庫なんか建ててたのね。
Well, now you know.
何よそれ。
When Ava looked where Kanon was pointing, she was at a loss for words. Noticing this, Hideyoshi also followed Kanon's finger and was likewise too shocked to speak. Their entrance to the storehouse was a kind of shudder. And there, everyone suddenly realized why Kanon had been unable to find words to describe what they now saw. Okay. On the shutter, which was completely filthy from being exposed to the wind and the rain for so long, on the shutter, which was completely filthy from being exposed to the wind and rain for so long, stuck right on it, there was something that looked like a strange, dark liquid. Mucus. Or something, or maybe it was some sticky paint. Mucus. An indescribably eerie shape was drawn on the shutter with some kind of ghastly substance. The rain had caused it to drip down like fresh blood leaking from an open wound. No more beating around the bush. Some kind of mark was drawn there. With a ghastly substance that looked like blood, in a shape that seemed to suggest something ominous. Two circles were drawn there, and inside them was a design that looked like a cross. What now? We can barely see it. The four ends of the cross were widely exaggerated and looked like some kind of crest from somewhere around Europe. A homunculus crest? I mean, an alchemy crest, you mean? And in the cracks between these shapes, written closely packed together, were some unfamiliar characters or possibly symbols.
なんちゅう悪趣味な落書きや。
That is not graffiti.
これ、あれか？悪魔の儀式とかの魔法陣いうやつとちゃうか？
Alchemic circles. It wasn't surprising that Hideyoshi would say that about such a ghastly shape, drawn with a deep red, dripping substance.
これいつ書かれたの？
昨日雨が降り出す前にここに来ましたが、その時には何も書かれてませんでした。
Yep.
他の方々の目に触れる前に何とかしよう。
Like what?
ご覧になられたらご不快になられるだろう。
そうね。ただの倉庫小屋とはいえ、こんな気持ち悪い落書きを1秒たりとも放置したくないわ。
Don't
倉
touch
庫の
it.
中に塗料もあります。
Y'all better not touch it.
応急処置でとりあえず塗り消して、後日天気のいい日に改めて塗装。
Genji remembered that he had just recently seen another scribble and that it too had been made with a strange dark red substance of the same color as this. That must have been... That's right. He had seen it on the door to Natsuhi's room.
カノン君、さっさとこの落書きを消して戻りましょう。たとえ倉庫とはいえ、実家の落書きは本当に腹立たしいわ。
はい。すぐに済ませますので。
Kanon squatted in front of the shutter and unlocked it. He then lifted it up with all of his strength. A boisterous noise resounded and the eerie shape drawn on the shutter began to get sucked in through the top as the shutter was raised. At least for the time being, that ominous drawing disappeared from their direct gaze and they all breathed a sigh of relief. That's not gonna help. Thanks to a kids program they came across, Maria was feeling much better. Battler and Jessica were poking fun at the kids show at every turn, crackling together. George was enjoying the program with Maria from her perspective. Nanjo sat on the sofa by himself, passing the time by reading quietly. They heard hurried footsteps coming from the hallway. They were the footsteps of a single person. Did that mean it wasn't a group of 4 that had just left? It was Genji. It was very rare for Genji, who considered being out of breath a violation of a servant's virtue, to be gasping for air. He had probably come dashing back from outside the mansion. His shoulders were soaking wet and he didn't have his usual trim appearance. When Genji noticed Nanjo looking at him, he gave a small silent bow and quickly approached him.
Nanjo 先生、申し訳ございません。至急お越しください。何事ですかな。
As Genji whispered something into Nanjo's ear, Nanjo went pale. He rose from the sofa, trying not to be noticed by the children who were still engrossed by the TV. And the two of them rapidly left the parlor, muffling their footsteps. Just as they were about to exit the parlor, they came across Natsuhi, who was pushing a serving cart loaded with a tea set. Genji whispered something into Natsuhi's ear and Natsuhi went pale too in apparent shock. Then, leaving the serving cart where it was, the 3 of them dashed towards the entrance. George noticed them running down the rose garden through the window.
なんだろう。源氏さんと南條先生と、あれは夏日おばさんかな。
どうしたんだよ、兄貴。
何かあったのかな。ひどい慌てようだったね。
When Jessica and Maria saw that Eva, Hideyoshi, and Nanjo were no longer in their seats and that the serving cart had been abandoned in the entrance to the parlor, they also realized that something was the matter.
何か事故でもあったとか？
行ってみようぜ。
Huh?
俺たちだけのけ者なんて面白くねえしな。
For some reason, what Battler said sounded extremely indiscreet. But they couldn't deny that they were a little insecure and concerned after seeing the adults run off into the rain without regards to their appearance.
行ってみようぜ。何があったか気になるぜ。
Jessica's uneasy words spoke for all of them.
おい、マリア。お前も来るか。それとも、テレビを見てるか。
マリアはテレビがいい。
僕たちだけで行こう。マリアちゃん、すぐ戻るからね。テレビを見て待ってるんだよ。
Ooh. By the time the kids made it outside, the adults were no longer in sight. But Jessica seemed to have a pretty good idea where they'd gone, judging by the direction they'd been running. Following Jessica, we ran through the rain-soaked rose garden. The wind seemed to suddenly get stronger. The malice sound of thunder began to rain down like it had the previous night. It felt like an eerie something had surrounded the island and was trying to stop us from moving forward.
ジェシカ、この先には何があるんだ？
確か園芸道具なんかの倉庫があったはずだぜ。
そんなところに一体何があるんだろうね。
Just as Jessica had said, they began to see a storehouse in front of them. They could also see the adults there. The shutter to the storehouse was open and several adults looked as though they were searching for something. For some reason, only Nazuhi was outside the storehouse without even holding an umbrella. She looked like she was hanging her head and her back was facing them. There was Genji, Nanjo, and Natsuhi who had just left the mansion. The ones who left earlier, Kanon, Eva, and Hideyoshi were also there, making for a small crowd of people. But there was absolutely no bustle of activity. When Natsuhi realized that the children were approaching, a terrible expression rose to her face and she ran at them with her arms spread wide. But despite that, no. Because of that, the kids saw the scene Natsuhi was trying to keep them away from. Inside the storehouse with its shutter wide open, a faint fluorescent light shone down. And right there was... Holy shit. Jessica's piercing screech rang out. But that was just because Jessica's scream was the loudest. The same thing spilled out of Battler and George's mouth as well. Eva spread her arms just like Natsuhi, roaring at the kids with a bone-chilling expression on her face.
Georgie! みんなを連れて屋敷に帰ってください! 早く! 今すぐに!
But Natsuhi spread her arms and I thought she was trying to prevent us from advancing any further. But that wasn't why Eva was spreading her arms right now. She was trying to stop us kids from seeing the terrible scene. It was her mother's heart trying to protect the eyes and hearts of us children by blocking our view of that terrible scene by at least the length of one of her arms. Nope, this ain't no joke. This is real life. I've seen this kind of cheap scene all too often in manga, TV, anime, and movies. I've seen it over and over again. This was just seeing something appear in real life that I'd seen plenty of times before in some of those more sensible movies, right? That alone shouldn't. But that suit, it's the old bastards, isn't it? I get it then. That's Uncle Kraus and Kiria-san and Aunt Rosa. Ah!
ダメよジェシカ入ってはダメ見てはダメ
She already looking, she's already going in.
お父さんお父さん
Yeah!
死後硬直をほぼ全身に認められる。
Rigor mortis. Oh shit. So they've been out there for a while, and it's also the cold air.
死後6時間以上は経過しとるだろう。損壊部位の状況を見る限り、死後に破壊された可能性が高い。いや、めったなことは言えん。私は町医者だ。検視は専門外だ。
Aha.
ちゅうことは何や。
It means they've been dead for a while now, and their body is actually starting to stiffen up and decompose.
殺しただけじゃ飽き足らず、さらにこんな無体なことをしたん言うんか。
Yep, draw arcanic symbols.
悪魔や、悪魔の所業や。
Aunt Natsuhi caught Jessica in her arms, and Aunt Eva caught Georgia Nikki. So I was the only one who could approach the entrance to the storehouse. If only there had been someone there to catch me too. I wouldn't have needed to have this horrible evil scene burned into my eyes. No, that's not it. It isn't that there's no one here to catch me. The people who should catch me, they're right here, aren't they? Just as Jessica said, it did look like a storehouse for gardening tools. A lawnmower with extra blades, a grass sickle, and a hammer. Some carpentry tools such as a saw, piled up potted plants, and bags of fertilizer. And treated just the same, the corpse of several people had been laid to rest there. No, had been tossed in there. I could tell them by the clothes. That old bastard and Kiryu-san, Uncle Kraus and Aunt Rosa. Beyond that, Goda-san, and are there still more of them? How many people died? You're fucking kidding me. I can't even count them on one hand. Damn it! I didn't know whether it had been one of these gardening tools which, if used for something other than their intended purposes, could definitely be wielded with a naked brutality. Or whether some horrible tool had been brought in here specifically for this. Anyway, each one of the bodies jammed in here had been given an atrocious makeup. It wasn't makeup, it was more like their faces had been plowed. Their faces were smashed, forced into expressions that normal people couldn't make even after death. I couldn't tell where the eyes or the noses were, but I could find their mouths because they were gaping wide and their gums exposed. But their front teeth were missing, and even the cheeks that should have covered all this were all torn up and laid bare. That trendy makeup you always spend so much time on, even though you're a man, isn't doing a thing now.
Oyaji! てめえは絶対地獄行きだとは思ってたぜ。でもよ、ここまでじゃねえだろ。
Oh, he's definitely going to hell.
ここまでひでえ目に遭わされるほどの悪党じゃなかっただろうがよ。だからキリエさんもさ、こんな男と付き合うのはやめろって言ったんだ。あんたまでそこまでの目に遭わされる理由は何もねえじゃねえかよ。顔がねえ。顔がねえよ。
They got no faces.
クソクソクソクソ。
Damn. Shit, it just got real. It hit the fan. He already looked.
こんな姿をお父さんもお母さんもあんたに見せたいわけがない。お父さんとお母さんのためにもこれ以上を見てはいかん。
Too late.
死者ってのは安らかに眠る顔ってやつを拝ませてくれるんじゃねえのかよ。
Nope.
顔がねえんだよ。俺の親父とキリエさんの顔がねえんだよ。どういう顔して死んじまったのかそれすらもわかんねえんだよ。
You don't want to know that. You really don't want to know that.
なんだよ俺は。親父たちのことを思い出すときはこのぐちゃぐちゃの化け物みてえな顔をいつも思い出せたのかよ。
I hope not.
クソ親父のニヤニヤとした顔を思い出さなくていいんだからよ。最高だぜ最高だぜ。
Just great, just great.
でもよキリエさんの顔くらいはいいだろ。キリエさんは悪党じゃねえ。
Sound like you had a thing for her.
たまにはムカつくと思ったけどよ。ちょいとかっこいい俺の姉気分だったお人じゃ
Oh,
ね
he
えか
did
よ。
have a. Oh, he did have a thing for her.
こりゃねえよ。こんなのってねえよ。
It definitely is wrong.
黒掃除さんなんかまだマシじゃねえか。顔面じゃなくて側面だぜ。少なくとも顔半分は残ってるじゃねえかよ。
That's not helping anything.
まだマシだぜまだマシだぜ。
Damn, Jessica got some lungs. Jessica filled her ears with the sounds of her own screaming, trying to shut out my reckless words.
よすんだバタラク。もうよすんだ。もうよすんだ。
George sounded like he about to hurl.
兄貴兄貴。
Why the hell are you guys still screaming? Like, cut it out. Disregarding age and appearance. I fell to my knees clinging to Aniki's waist and sobbing. I mean, it was as if I was crying on behalf of everyone there. Representing that feel. Wait. Yeah, representing the feelings of everyone there, I screamed over and over. I think Jessica has that covered already, though. Jesus Christ. That was crazy.
お父さん
Oh yeah, your father is fine.
倒れているのはクラウスおじさん、ルドルフおじさん、キリエおばさんにローザおばさん、ゴーダさんで5人。
いや6人や。
Huh?
ここにもう一人おる。
The body Hideyoshi was looking down on now happened to be hidden among the shadows in that maintained range of objects. In a blind spot to George, who stood by the entrance. Uh-oh. This can't be good, like, at all. So George couldn't tell whose body it was, but whose body it was. Uh-oh. So, George cursed himself. He cursed the fact that his worst guesses always turned out to be right.
じゃあ、お父さんの足元に倒れているのは、シャノンなんだね。
Yep.
ああ、シャノンちゃんや。
Oh, fuck. Now George is about to lose it. Oh, wow. George fell completely silent. The tears just rolled down his face. He shook slightly, his lower lip trembling. Normally, he would have wanted to run to his beloved's body screaming and crying. However, before rashly rushing forward, he worked to keep his composure and asked his father.
シャノンも、クラウスおじさんたちと同じなのかな。
Hideyoshi deeply understood the meaning of those words, so he couldn't give George an immediate answer. Or rather, he felt that silence was the only sincere and loving response he could give George right now. When George asked if Shannon was the same, he meant to ask whether her corpse was in the same condition as the others or not. Since Hideyoshi hadn't denied it, it meant her corpse was in the same brutal state.
シャノンを見てもいいかな。いや、あかん。
He's going to.
どうして？だって、もう二度とシャノンの顔を見られないんだよ。その、最後の顔。
Because it's gonna destroy you, kid.
どうして見たらいけないんだよ。
I don't even think she doesn't have a
最後
face.
にシャノンちゃんに会ったのは昨日か。
うん。
そうか。そのシャノンちゃんは別れ際にお前にどんな顔を見せたんや。
The most beautiful thing I have ever seen. Well, I'm speaking of him.
素敵な笑顔だったよ。
And that's how you should remember her. After he handed her the ring, she hesitated, even though she must have already made up her mind. Then she looked bashful and ran away because she was embarrassed to let him see her face looking like that. That's the expression that was received in George's mind.
そうか。ならシャノンちゃんもその笑顔をお前に残したいと願うはずや。
Hideyoshi looked down upon Shannon's body laying at his feet. Whoo, my God. That's just sad. Just like the other bodies, it was in such a horrible state that it make anyone want to cover their eyes. Her head had been smashed in from the side and no more than half of her expression remained. If the remaining blood-soaked half of her expression had been wiped clean, with that graceful smile of hers have peeked out, but only half of it. Without thinking, Hideyoshi slapped his hands over his eyes. How brutal. If her face was going to be crushed anyway, then if only all of it had been crushed, he might have been able to temporarily distract George from his pain by making the pathetic suggestion that it was someone else wearing Shannon's clothes. But half of her face had been left untouched. It caused the body so much humiliation, while still proving beyond doubt that the body was Shannon's and no one else's. How inhuman, how Brutus. And there, trying his best to burn the image of the remaining half of Shannon's expression into his eyes as she lay at Hideyoshi's feet, was Kanon. Kanon was not crying. Tears had risen to his eyes, but they did not drip down. But that didn't mean he wasn't feeling as much sadness as everyone else. Losing Shannon, who had lived with him in the same orphanage, whom he had loved as a sister, must have been just the same as losing a blood relative.
ジョージ、シャノンちゃんはきっとありがとう言ってるぞ。お前に恥ずかしいところを見られとうなかったんや。きっとお前が耐えてくれたこと感謝しとるで。
分かってる。分かってるよ、父さん。分かってるよ。
George leaned against the outside wall of the storehouse, crouching down limply.
父さん、頼みがあるんだ。
なんや。
僕の代わりに見てほしいんだ。シャノンは指に指輪をつけてるかな。
指輪？ちょいと見てみる。
Hideyoshi crouched down. As he did, Kanon silently pointed to one of Shannon's hands.
ああ、あるで。こりゃダイヤの指輪や。クズダイヤとちゃう。なかなかの値打ちもんや。
それはどっちの手のどの指にあるのかな。
と左手の薬指や。
Right.
そっか。シャノンちゃん婚約しとったんか。
ジョージ、あなたまさか。
He did.
エヴァ、今はそんなん関係ないで。
I know. Quiet.
シャノンちゃんは男に将来を約束されとったんや。一生を幸せにしちゃると男に言わせたんや。
So close your mouth, girl.
それが誰かは問題とちゃうで。男にそこまで言わしめて女の本懐やないか。いつこの指輪をもらったんかは知らん。誰が渡したかも知らん。だがそれでもシャノンちゃんは指輪をもらえたんや。
Hideyoshi, you are... I love you, man. Hideyoshi is a stand-up person right here. He is a true man right there.
そしてそれを受け入れ左の薬指に通したんや。指輪を送った男もきっと喜んだんとちゃうか。
Too much of the people there, Hideyoshi was simply disturbed by this extraordinary situation and was blurting out nonsense. However, that was not nonsense actually. Someone who knew of George and Shannon's true relationship would understand the full meaning of those words.
そっか。ありがとう、父さん。
George stood up. The traces of tears still stained his face, but his expression had returned to its usual calm one.
行こう。バトラー君、ジェシカちゃん。これ以上、僕たちがここにいると、大人の邪魔になる。
George, you are an adult. Well, now.
そうだな。
Jessica sniffed once, holding her face to her mother, who had been holding her the whole time, to let her know she was okay now. When she faced George again, she once again had on her unusual expression, her usual expression, although she still couldn't smile.
バトラー、しっかり。
Battler kept on crouching in front of his parents' bodies.
すまねえな。がっつり泣いたら落ち着いたぜ。親父の野郎。普段はクソクソ言ってるくせに、ちょっ と死んじまったくらいでピーピー泣くんじゃねえぜって、笑ってやがら。仕方ねえだろ。親が死んだら泣くように。遺伝子すり込まれちまってんだからよ。
Battler's face was still bright red from the tears, but he had at least recovered enough to fake a smile, if only a bitter one.
カノン、お前もこれ以上ここにいてはいけません。子供たちを連れてお屋敷に戻っていなさい。
Natsuhi had been standing under the rain this whole time, unable to take a step into the storehouse. Maybe she had her own way of grieving different from Battler's. Realizing that she had to take on a role of responsibility now that her husband was dead, she gave Kanon those orders.
はい、奥様。
Kanon rose silently and turned to face me. His face was pure white, almost as though his own heart had died along with Shannon, and there was no life in his expression. On an ordinary day, if he had been told to guide the children through the beautiful rose garden, Kanon might have led the way. But now, there was no distinction between Kanon and the children. They were now just kids of about the same age, suffering the pain of losing those close to them. After making sure that the children were leaving, Natsuhi started giving orders to Genji.
Genji, すぐに警察に連絡しなさい。台風が通り過ぎるまでは来られないでしょうが、どうすればいいか指示を与えてくれるはずです。
わかりました。防災用の無線機がありますので、それで連絡します。
When she heard that, Natsuhi... That's right, the phones were out today, weren't they? However, they also had a radio since they couldn't necessarily rely on phones all the time while living on an isolated island. At any rate, they should start by contacting the police and receiving their instructions. Everything else could wait.
ナチョ先生、もうこの場はどうしようもありませんか。
残念ながら私には何もできませんな。
わかりました。源氏、せめて主人たちの顔を何かで覆ってやることはできませんか。このような姿を晒すことは当人にとっても屈辱的でしょうから。
はい。
Genji picked up several dried up towels from inside the storehouse. When Eva stopped him with a shrill voice.
ちょっとちょっと、お待ちなさいよ。ここは犯行現場なんでしょ。なら変に手を加えちゃダメよ。私たちは混乱してて現場に土足で踏み入っちゃったけど、それはきっと警察の捜査の邪魔になったわよ。
Natsuhi glared at Eva offended. Objectively speaking, Eva was right. Even so, she glared at Eva as though accusing her of refusing to do those tragic corpses which had been humiliated even after death. The simple kindness of covering their faces. However, Eva had spoken both calmly and correctly. This horrible situation definitely wasn't an accident. It was a crime. Someone had killed them. It was a murder case. So they needed to be careful to avoid disturbing the site any further. They had to do what little they could to aid the police, preserving clues that might help catch the detestable culprit.
私もエヴァさんに賛成ですな。警察が来るまでここは手をつけずにしておくべきです。
奥様、いかがなさいますか。
I mean, y'all have to.
そうですね。わかりました。 ここを閉ざしなさい。それから念のためここに別の施錠をするように。
別の施錠？
ええ、ここに来た時シャッターの鍵は閉じていました。ということはシャッターの鍵を使い犯人が施錠したということです。
確かに通りや。じゃあここを開けた限り犯人の指紋が残ってるんとちゃうんか。
Yep.
警察に証拠として提出する価値はあるでしょうけど、カノン君が普通に持ってここを開けるのに使用しちゃったわ。多分カノン君の指紋も付着しちゃってるわよ。そしてその鍵はさっき源氏さんに手渡され、源氏さんも素手で受け取ってる。大した証拠にはなりそうにないわね。
それは不用心でした。申し訳ございません。
源氏さん、この倉庫の鍵は他にもあるんか？
いいえ、
Nope.
この一つだけです。
ということは犯人はその鍵を使用人室から持ち出し、
What are you suggesting, Hideyoshi?
そして律儀に元の場所に戻したちゅうことになるな。
Hideyoshi's theory sounded plausible, but was actually very strange if you thought about it. Why would they go to all the trouble of returning a key they stole? No, if you think about it even more deeply, there are some points that are even more bizarre. When a criminal hides a body, they usually try to delay the point at which it'll be found so they could use that time to escape. The six weren't necessarily killed here, but it was reasonable to assume that they were killed somewhere on this island, carried to the storehouse, and hidden to delay the discovery of the crime. And yet, the eerie magic circle scribbled on the storehouse shutter had eloquently indicated the location of the hidden corpses. Sure, it didn't explicitly mention the corpse, but 6 people had gone missing. In that situation, someone had made such an obvious piece of graffiti and even returned the key to the shutter, almost as though they wanted the corpses here to be discovered.
とにかく一度は犯人が開け閉めをした施錠だけでは信用できません。犯人の手からもこの場所を保護する意味で施錠を新たにしたいと言っているのです。
いい案だと思います。私も賛成です。
Genji fished around inside the storehouse and unsealed a brand new padlock that had been inside a small box.
鍵はどうなさいますか？
私が持ちましょう。責任を持って警察に手渡します。
Natsuhi took the key to the padlock from Genji's hands. After that, they all exited and lowered the shutter. And so the corpses were once again sealed behind the shutter, which was still covered with the creepy magic circle. Genji crouched down in front of the shutter to fasten the new padlock. Shutters often have a place in front where you can attach your own lock in addition to the main lock of the shutter. This was one of those types. In the midst of the roar of thunder and the pouring rain, the storehouse stood there ominously, with its closed shutters still covered in a blood-like creepy substance. It swallowed up the body of the 6. To Natsuhi, putting the new lock on wasn't mainly to preserve the scene for the police. She might have felt like she wanted to shut that mouth for all eternity, to prevent that eerie beast from swallowing up any more victims.
さあ、行きましょう。 南條先生、ご足労。源氏は急いで警察に連絡を。
戻りましたらすぐに連絡します。
The adults left the storehouse. The magic circle drawn on the shutter kept the 6 bodies in its throat, looming eerily as the lightning occasionally lit it up. And this is the perfect place to end this. So, yep, we have finally gotten to the good shit. Absolute despair. Well, anyways, I hope you guys all enjoyed this. This has been Hunted Ray Jacket, and I'm going to go ahead and sign out now. I hope to see all of you guys later. Peace.